Yeah, welcome to the Aro Benaiah Show, where we explore the stories, strategy, and insight of hands-on entrepreneurs and leaders. Today, I'm excited to welcome Adriana Vaccaro, CEO and founder of Culture Redesign, a top one Amazon best-selling author and a leader in workplace culture and behavioral science. She helps organizations transform culture into measurable advantage, empowering employee while driving real business results. It's really a pleasure to have you on the show, Andreina.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. So, Adriana, what was it like growing up for you?
Growing up, wow. I grew up in Colombia. I'm an immigrant in the United States. So I will say that journey makes you look at business in a different way, kind of like more aware of everyone's journey when we come together to work.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So, you often say that culture is a behavioral emotion. Can you unpack what that look like in real workplace?
Absolutely. So when we think about culture, sometimes we concentrate on like what's on the website of a company or what is on the marketing material, but culture is really how people feel when they are at work and the behaviors they think they need to engage in to belong. So I like to say culture is a collective. It's a combination, the result of all of us coming together. If we don't realize that everyone has a different journey and a different experience, then we start creating cultures that make people feel like they have to kind of like create another person, which takes a lot of mental effort. We want people to feel I can come in the way I am and I will be accepted.
Well, that was really amazing. We are actually looking at culture. Yeah, thank you. So, what are the six capability in your culture-minded framework, and how do you directly impact business?
Thank you for asking that question. When we put together the capability study, we realized that some of the capabilities were present at different companies, but employees weren't feeling the benefits because the lack of other capabilities. So they're very intertwined. So the first one is culture-minded leadership, having a leader that really has a clear vision and that understand and is signaling the right behavior. The second one is shared values alignment, meaning we all have core values as individuals, but when we come to a workplace, we want to have a set of shared values, and that is sort of the way people find a way to align with the company. Then we have employee engagement, which is the ability of an employee to really want to be part of something bigger. And the fourth one is trust and collaboration. So instead of kind of like keeping our head down and worrying only for our silo, we want people to feel that they can ask questions, they can collaborate between teams, they develop trust with each other so they can things are achieved faster. The fifth one is equity, which
Yeah.
is really giving each person what they need in the workplace instead of offering everyone a pair of shoes that is size 7. It's about offering everyone the size that will fit their foot.
Mm.
And the last one is process improvement, which applies to all the capabilities. When we start measuring our effectiveness at each capability, we are able to kind of like design how we get to the next level. So that's sort of the work we do with organizations.
Wow, this is really amazing. And just looking at it again, it just speaks volumes. So if every of these things can be getting right, yeah, trust me, I think culture is already right. Yeah, culture-minded leadership, share value alignment, employee engagement, trusting collaboration, equity, and process improvement. Yeah, this is a very robust, more like framework, and I'm glad you're sharing this with us today.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you. The
yeah,
the validation was interesting because we realized that some companies, for example, equity, let's say a company has a desire to provide an equitable environment, but then they're not mature in the other capabilities. And I always like to compare it to if you had a 4-year-old and you gave him the key to the car and asked him to drive on the highway. Is it possible? It's possible, but it's very dangerous.
yeah.
So there are you need to develop maturity in all the capabilities to really see them at work.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, how can leaders actually more like talk about the values? How can they move from talking about values to actually living them in everyday actions?
So I usually call people to share. I like to invite them first to understand the concept of a behavior. So a behavior is something you can see someone doing. So if a leader tells me, well, one of our values, there are two that a lot of companies use: integrity and honesty.
Yeah.
So I usually say, okay, what can you see someone doing to feel like they're demonstrating integrity? So then they start giving me examples, right? Like they say what they do, what they say they're gonna do, they mean what they say, they are respectful, they do the right thing even if no one is looking. So we put together that list, and then the next question is, are you, Mr. Leader, modeling all of this? And I think it's like holding the mirror to someone. Like, are you doing what you expect other people to do? And that is signaling behavior, right? That is leading
Yeah.
by example.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think it's a very lovely question, being that you start from asking them what they actually perceive as the culture they actually want to embrace, and getting to see how they actually get to portray it. So yeah, that was really amazing. So what role does data and behavioral science play in creating trust, psychologically, safety, and belonging at work?
So we use different assessments to understand how different people, how their brain interprets the workplace. And we do this so that leaders can understand how to maybe tailor their message depending on the audience they have. So in behavioral science, we really work on the difference between psychological safety and trust. So trust is personal. I decide to trust a person, perhaps they have earned my trust. So it's a very individual concept. But psychological safety is something that we perceived from the environment. So we are always working on that awareness of, you have to cultivate trust, and you also have to create an environment where people feel that they can maybe share a new idea, that if they try something new and fail, they're not going to be penalized. So that is how we cultivate both simultaneously through behavioral science.
Oh, that was really amazing. But that by the questions again. With AI and digital transformation changing workplace, how can leaders maintain a human-centered conscious culture?
I love that question because right now AI is one of the topics that we get the most requests. Like every company wants training in AI. And I like to invite them to reflect on the fact that these AI solutions are only as effective as the human prompting the conversation, right? So if we have a strong culture, if we have a set of values, if we have a list of behaviors we want to do, when we are asking AI to, let's say, write a proposal, we have to also tell AI, ask me questions about my values, ask me questions about, I usually tell them, always ask your platform to ask you 5 questions about the values you are wanting to project and promote, so that the conversation doesn't become only about what the best next word is, but it's also about the experience you want other people to have. So I think AI is great, but it's gonna always kind of like agree with you. So it's up to
Yeah.
you to really educate and train whatever tool you're using, so that it's not only making you feel good about your work, but it's also thinking about the environment.
Yeah, I think this is really a whole lot, especially when you just make reference of, yeah, as much as AI is coming into being and a whole lot of persons are having bias about it. But your point here just speaks volumes to the fact that, yeah, AI can actually more like be an extension of what our culture is, being that if everybody is in tune with what the culture is in the company, and the role they are playing and being leadership and everything, they are definitely going to speak volumes with the prompt they give to AI, being that this what they live out, and it's going to reflect in the AI to being that it's a culture they live it out and everybody live it too, and AI is going to be a reflection of it, not the other way around, and they just speak volume.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, thank you. So how do company measure the ROI of cultural transformation in a way that executive understand?
So we have a couple of ways to measure ROI, but usually One of our indicators that we're very proud of is the retention of our training programs. We keep the scrap rate really low, meaning a lot of times you take a training and the majority of what you're learning you cannot apply. So when we design our trainings, we're thinking about the job that person is going to be doing and how do we have the highest stickiness of the training and the lowest scrap rate. So we always ask at the end of the session, are there things you can apply from this training? And then we start building for the next session. We had the one thing from session one. What is the one thing from session two? And we keep reminding them so that they can really stack those habits and really create a different practice. So we want to see our training demonstrated on their behaviors. So that's kind of like at the individual level, but at the organizational level, we track KPIs like retention, like how many of employees that are being trained or coached are going to staying with the company. We also track employees that are able to get promoted, like when you absorb skills and you're able to move into a different position, the company can now hire an entry level person instead of hiring at the manager level. So we work on how can we upskill the workplace so that people can move up.
Amazing. How has your personal journey shaped your perspective on global workplace culture?
That's a great question. So in Colombia, I mean, I don't know how it is now, but 20 years ago when I was living there, the organizational culture there was a little bit more conservative than here. So there was still positions of power were male dominated. It was very difficult to get a job. So something refreshing when I moved to the state was for me seeing a lot of more access to opportunity, at least in Massachusetts, to a lot of people that came from different backgrounds. So I think there was more of everyone coming together to work for a common goal instead of being more divided. I think in Colombia, social class and education, they're extremely divided, or they were. Again, I don't know how it is now, but I could see a more modern approach in Massachusetts, and I like that. That was very inspiring to me, and I think that really ignited me to wanting to learn more, study more, and understand how to optimize workplaces.
Wow, that was really amazing. I think it's the fact that you just make reference of starting out, there were a whole lot of there were a whole lot of barriers when it comes to gender aspects and a whole lot of things. And now they are actually more like improve on it. And yeah, that was pretty amazing. So, how can leaders empower minority professionally and create inclusive environments that drive real growth?
Well, I will say play the perspective game. In anything you're doing, imagine if you were the other person, right? If you're going to send an email, imagine if you were the reader. If you're going to ask someone a question, imagine if you were the question being asked. Because that gives us positionality, right? Sometimes we are all have some sort of privilege and power, and we need to be aware of that. So if I am talking to a child and I'm looking down on the child simply because I'm taller, it's not because I want to, why not come down to their level so we are eye to eye, right? So the
Yeah.
perspective game gives you awareness of maybe power dynamics, and we don't normally go about our day thinking about the other person. So I think that perspective gives awareness.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Being able to kind of think things from their own point of view. That was
Right.
really amazing. Yeah, just think from then. And the reason, if they were to be at this particular case, what would be the things running through their mind, and what would they think differently? And I think it's a really lovely way of being in their shoe and from there trying to provide solution. Yeah,
Yes.
amazing. Yeah. So, what practical exercise or tools leaders can actually use immediately to assess or improve their organization culture?
I will say instead of believing your opinion about the culture, because we all have an opinion, and if you're a business owner, we have a positive intention, right? We want to create a good workplace,
Yeah.
but then we believe in our thoughts, like this is my company, so the culture must be great here. And then we have to ask, we have to understand how others experience the workplace.
Yeah.
So my first recommendation is have those one-on-one conversations with your team and find out how they are feeling, how they are experiencing the workplace, how they are experiencing their manager. Do they see themselves in the company for a long time? Because you start gaining awareness not only about your intention, is your intention matching what they feel, but also about their experience. And when you start collecting that data, even though you might find things out that were not ideal, at least you can start course correcting. And I always tell my clients, when you don't ask, it's like as if you didn't want to know. And it's the same as if you don't get on the scale. You don't get on the scale doesn't mean you're not going to gain weight. I mean, the weight is still there.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. Yeah. Yeah, amazing. I think this just speaks volumes, being that as entrepreneur most times it can easily easy to be fooled, being that especially if you don't want to take a record of what is going on, you don't want to ask the hard questions, and it's easy to just have an opinion that yeah, I have a nice culture over here. Just from a perspective, or more like, yeah, it's easier to actually more like look at it from that particular point of way, especially when being the boss figures and nobody gets to kind of see anything until you actually get to see, and except you start asking the hard questions and willing to listen to the honest opinion and willing to actually more like seeing things from their lens and doing it different. I think it's really amazing just hearing you analyze this stuff.
Yes, yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
Thank you. So your new book, Culture Minded, it's top 1% in top one in Amazon. What is the key lessons you hope every readers take away?
So for me, one lesson and is the way the book talks about the capabilities and statistics and studies and is scientifically grounded. But at the end of the book, I really talk about the one thing we can do is to manage our presence, right? Like when we are in a place with someone, how can we really be there for them so that not only we are creating better businesses, but we are improving the very fabric of humanity, which is those moments, those relationships. Like right now, you and I are here, and I can feel that you're present with me and
Yeah.
I'm present with you. But I'm sure you've had experiences where people are, halfway here, halfway there. So I think to me, that is the one thing that we can all do. When we are doing something, we should be present because the other person deserves that much.
So, if you had more like how to give us one piece of advice to the founder or CEO or small business owner who is just starting out, starting a cultural transformation, what will it be?
I will say condition your environment to create a culture of growth. A lot of times we start thinking, I'm going to hire the best people. I'm gonna find the next rock star. I'm gonna, like I'm looking for these prototypes. And a much humanistic way of creating a great culture is I am going to create an environment where everyone can grow, everyone can develop, everyone can find a better version of themselves. So that will be my recommendation. How can you look at every person in your team and create a path so that they can develop and improve? That is a key to success for me.
Wow, wow, yeah, combination of your environment that make it possible for everyone to grow. And I think this is very lovely, being that it's inclusive, not just from the perspective of the leaders alone, but you are looking at it from the perspective of all the employees. And yeah, just the way you make reference of size of shoe earlier on, that equity, what do they need? And looking at it from that particular end, let's say Mr. A is size 46. It will be nice to start giving him size 22, which is not going to be enough at all. So just creating the environment that make everybody, despite their background, despite where they're coming from, it make it easier for them to grow, to thrive, to develop, to become a better version, and to actually contribute more to the company. And I think it's really, really amazing. Just hear it.
I love what you added, despite where they come from or who they are. Like that,
Yeah,
that is exactly what the culture of growth will do.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Also, Adelina, for my audience who actually want to reach out, who want to connect with you, how can they reach out and where is the best platform to do this?
Thank you. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, Adriana Vaccaro, and I also have a website, cultureredesign.com. And the book has a portal, which is culture-minded.com.
Yeah, amazing. Definitely the link to your website is going to be on the show notes so that my audience can easily reach out. Yeah, once again, thank you, Adriana. This has really been incredible and insightful conversation. Yeah, thank you for sharing your expertise on culture or leadership and behavioral science and for giving us listener practical ways to transform a workplace. For those listening, you can actually explore Adriana's culture-minded assessment and her book, Culture Minded, through the link that's going to be on the show notes, whether you are a business owner, team leader, an aspiring change maker. Today's episode will give you an actionable tools to align people, culture, and performance. Until next time, this is the Aro Benaiah Show, helping you to build business and team that thrive. Once again, it's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.